Hello everybody. Welcome to this webinar where we were going to present CMDBuild 3.2. CMDBuild 3.2 is the newest release of CMDBuild, and which presents some very interesting new features that we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to describe it a little bit for you. And then, of course, we will have as usual, the question and answer session at the very end of this webinar. So, as I'm telling you every time we do the webinar, please feel absolutely welcome to ask all the questions you may have in the chat box while I speak, so that I will be able to get at the questions at the end of the webinar and try to answer them all. The questions, of course, can be either technical or commercial, could be about what I'm talking, or also could be not necessarily related specifically to these topics, but it would be better if we could keep them just focused on CMDBuild 3.2 or CMDBuild in general. So it's always nice to see many people attending our webinars, which really makes us happy and give us the strength to go on and work harder on developing new features for the community using CMDBuild ready to use, and OpenMate. So today we're going to have, just as usual, a quick overview of CMDBuild for those who are not very familiar with it. Of course, it will be just a quick overview, so if you need should you need any further information, please feel free to have a look at our new websites of CMDBuild ready to use, or get in touch with us at the contacts that you can find online, or you can find at the end of this webinar. Again, should you have any commercial or technical in question, well, just feel free to get in touch with us also through our social media channels. So after the quick interview of CMDBuild, we will then present the new version, the CMDBuild 3.2 version, and I will show you a quick demo of these new features live from our CMDBuild tool. As I just said, the webinar will end with the questions and answers with me, and supported by, of course, by the Tecnoteca technical team that is ready to answer all the questions you may have. So CMDBuild is an open source, it's always been open source tool with focused on the enterprise environment, for configuring custom application for the IT asset management, but not just the IT asset. It could be really any asset, since it's extremely flexible. You can really configure any workflow you may need, any kind of report, dashboards, or you can schedule operations and checks. You can georeference your assets. You can manage the documents of different formats in CMDBuild, but you can also view your assets in a 3D models or on a 2D map. And of course, CMDBuild can easily interoperate and communicate with external applications, so with other tools, through web services. CMDBuild can really make you manage the complete life cycles of your assets, thanks to these features, and specifically thanks to its scalability and its ability to really adapt to any kind of situation. Any kind of company's needs can be solved. Regarding asset management, of course, can be solved by using CMDBuild. Of course, it was born for the IT asset management, but we do have a lot of customers that are using it not just for the IT asset management, but for many other kind of assets, just should you be curious, just feel free to go on our website and have a look at our case studies where we present them all. Well, not all of them, but we just present a selection of the most interesting case studies, both for CMDBuild and for the second tool we have, OpenMain, for the facility management and maintenance. And so you can just feel free to go online on our website and have a look at them, and to get a better understanding of really the flexibility that CMDBuild has within. So the new version is the 3.2. Some features of this new version were already included in the CMDBuild 2.x version. Temporarily they were not available when we switched to the 3.x, but now we because we wanted to work on them and enhance them and really make them more how could I say, more like polish them up, and so they were perfect and ready to also to feature the 3.2 3.x version. These new features include the dashboard management. It will now be possible to configure, of course, from the administration module, the pages containing graphs of different kinds, different types, and then make these pages available in the data management module. This is something I will definitely show you in a few minutes in the live demo. Of course, in the configuration phase, once the dashboard has been named, you'll be able to define the layout, specifying, for example, the number of rows and columns in which to divide a page and the width of each resulting cell. You will be able to insert in each cell just by dragging and dropping one or more elements, such as bar, lines, pie, gauges, just different types of graphs. You can insert new data tables, which is something completely new from, for example, from CMDB 2. Also coming from CMDBuild classes of view or database functions, but also text, which is again something new. But you can also will be able also to configure the element, so the charts, the data source, the chart type, the label on the axis, the size of the field for a text, the origin from classes of functions and paginations for data tables. So really you have a lot of possibilities to work on concerning the dashboard. Then we will talk about the wizard connector tasks, which is basically restoration of the already existing wizard connector tasks for the visual definition of synchronization templates of external database tables with CMDBuild classes. We just restore the configuration of the wizard task connector, which of course lets you import the data from other databases and keep them updated. We then reintroduce the password management, so you now are able, as an administrator, of course, you're able to set the validity period of the password so that the user will be noticed of the expiration of the email via email of the password for the login into CMDBuild. Of course, you can also select the form of the password, so like with you can set the restriction. You as an administrator, of course, can set the restrictions on the length and on the presence of at least, for example, one numeric character or a capital letter or a lowercase letter, just as usual. And you can also constrain that the password must be, you can set that the password must be different from the previous password or passwords and from the username, for example. So you can block users against multiple failed authentication attempts and you can also automatically deactivate credentials and not use for several months. Also, we got now the request for the forgotten password, which can be performed through a link sent on the email of the user. Then we worked on the display of the thematism of the GIS. So this thematism can be used to visualize and classify in a graphical way on the map. So with colors and shapes, you can classify and view the information contained in the data cards, such as the status of an asset, its seniority, or the intended use for a building or a room, the electrical panel on which the device depends on, and so on. These of course help to have a better readability of the data, which is also guided by it is guided by a special legend. So for this reason, the thematis are an additional way to perform analysis on information on the card, on statistical data, or on correlation information relative to the objects, of course, that are visible on the map. In this version, the interval of thematism will be then restored in the version 3.2, and this can be used to perform analysis, for example, analysis on value ranges referring to numerical or given attributes, and both types of thematism will be extended also with the possibility of correlating colors to information returned to by more complex functions, so fold frequencies, so you can set the colors for that, or the total repair cost, and so on. Of course, you name it, you can do it. And also another important improvement compared to the previous 2.x version was that it is now you're now able to work on the thematism so that these can be saved and reactivated when you need it, when necessary, in a similar way, just to use filters. Also, talking about thematism in the GIS, the new function is also already available in the admin module to make it accessible to enable roles thematism of general interest that are configured by individual users. One last thing we did work on was the single sign-on. So the single sign-on, which of course is a system for authentication on all the app you may have in your computer, and now also CMDBuild can fall into this using CAS, which is an open source service for the authentication process. Now you can also do the single sign-on on CMDBuild, which of course just as always happens. The most important feature that we developed in this new 3.2 version, this was not present in the previous one, but is this brand new, is the scheduler. So the scheduler is probably the most important new features, and of course this is something I'm going to show you in a few moments. This new feature helps the operators to remember and to manage the recurring deadlines, which are of course associated to a specific assets. So this could be certification, warranties, contracts with customers and suppliers, or administrative staff related procedures, whatever. So as you will see, and in the system administrator, can set the criteria for the scheduler, for the rules of the scheduling, so the start, the end, the number of occurrences, the frequency, type and value, notification, and can link them to any data type attribute of any class. So the user can view and or edit these criteria when inserting a card of that class, and this is something we are going to do just in a few minutes. So of course the resulting deadlines will be then registered into the scheduler. So now the tasks that are due are notified via email, with of course the required notice to the specified user or group, and from there, if you have the of course the necessary permissions, you will be able to view the deadlines list with a standard search, filter, print function. You can edit the complete data card of a deadline. You can close, cancel a deadline or you can access the calendar view and view the deadlines for the type of interface. Some other new features that we developed is the extensions of the user preferences. So for example, the home page, the customization of list of data cards. So for example, you can now edit the choice and width of columns and sorts. You can set default filter for each class. We then worked on a visual definition of a customized layout for each class in terms of number of rows, number and width of columns, and positioning of attributes in the resulting cells. There are new types of permissions on processes now. So in the case of, for example, of using permissions on the lines of a class, you can specify the permission to be applied also on extra filter lines. You can display the status of the server services used by CMDBuild. This is something I can show you in a few minutes as well. And then also there is a new role of the limited administrator with the possibility of creating users on his tenant. This is something that we have been asked to work on, and with pleasure we did do it. Okay, well, then just a few words before we go into the live demo. Just remember that CMDBuild 3.2 now relies on the Java 11 platform, which is mandatory to use. So now the Java 8 is not supported anymore. We don't guarantee the working of CMDBuild with Java 8 anymore. And we would like really to thank you very much, all the translators that work with us for the translation of CMDBuild. Now it is available in 29 localizations, so 29 different languages, including the Malay language, which is the very new one, a very new language that we released now. Also, just don't forget that both CMDBuild and OpenMain are available with the core of the CMDBuild 3.2. Okay, well, I think this is it for the slides. I will now go on to the live demo, just to show you a little bit into more details what I just talked about. Okay, so we did a login, of course, with it already logged in with a single sign-on. So just one thing before we start. If this is a new feature, which I probably didn't mention before. If you click here, I'm on my employees. I'm management module, and if I'm employees, internal employees, if I click on the little cross here, you can view all the informations just in read-only mode. So you're not able to edit the data straight from here. But of course, if you need to do any kind of editing, you need to click on here. This will open the card, specific card. You can click on the little pen, and you'll be able to edit them all. Okay, so of course now what I wanted to tell you is that the grouping is now on the field set, based on field set, just as in the details windows. And this of course here you got also the tabs, which were not like this before. and of course all the cards, all the processes, and all Windows, everything is now has this layout, this new layout, which is we think more, more user friendly. So now I would like to talk to you about the scheduler, which is our main feature, the most important one we developed in the 3.2 version. So to the scheduler, you can have access from here. So from the navigation menu, also from here up here, you can click and open the schedules. But just for now, just have a look at it. There is nothing in it because I wanted to show you how to create the new rules for the scheduler. I'm now going into the administration module, and here again in the navigation menu you got the schedules, and I can add a new schedule rule definition. So the description of my rule could be, I don't know, be subscription, say expiration, for example, and the class will be the client software. So I'm creating a rule for the expiration of the subscription of software, client software in this case. So it will be client software. The attribute will be installation date. It would make sense that the installation date, the date from when to start the counting. So installation date. I can also select the users, the group, the time zone in which I'm in, and also I can set the schedule rule edit mode. So what happens when you create the related rule to which link the in this case the expiration. So what do you want to do? You want to hidden read or write the new schedule rule. Okay, so then you can select the category, the priority, and then the action on card deleted. This is really interesting because this is what you need to set. What happens when you delete the related card? So in this case, if I delete the software card, what happens to the related schedule rule? What does it do? Does it unlink the card or delete the schedule rule as well? You can just unlink it. Then condition here, you got you can create the in this case the schedule rule. So the expiration, in our case the subscription expiration, you can create it in a conditional mode to a condition to JavaScript expression. Frequency, with which frequency does this rule happen? So it could be once, daily, weekly, monthly. So this could be, for example, since with a subscription expiration installation date, so this will happen in yearly, so after every 1 year, and so on every how many years. So this is the frequency multiplier, never, and the end type then can be selected, could be never, so it will never end, or you can set an end date, or you can set a number of events. So after how many years this will so this can, let's say we bought a subscription, the annual subscription of CMDBuild for 4 years. So every 1 year, for 4 years, it will remind me that the subscription is we want to buy it for 4 years, and it reminds me every 1 year that for 4 years that the subscription is expiring. So and we got a delays before the deadline, and which basically means when the first expiration happen, because it could be, of course, it could be that you wanted it, you can set that the very first day also is the same day as the first expiration happens, but also you can set that the first one happens after, let's say, 1 year, and then the others are after whatever 6 months. The first one is 6 months, and then after the first one, then every year or every 2 years, whatever you want to select. This could be interesting. For example, I don't know, if you have I don't know, if you have a specific test you want to do on your new employees, and this test must be done within every year, but for when you got a new employee, this must be done within the first week of the start of the contract. So in this case, you wanted to select in here the delay before deadline 1 week, so could be 7 days, of course, and then from then on every year or every 2 years or whatever you want to do it. Then the max active schedules, this basically is the number of recurring events that the system will create according to what you select here. So in this case, if we say let's say if we put 5, this means that the system will create 5 recurring schedules, expiration of 5 expirations, and then since we select that it never ends, or after let's say that it never ends. So like it will the system will calculate for every year, will set a recurring expiration every year for forever, since it never ends. But instead of putting them all into the calendar, you can select to create them just 5. So next year there are going to be another 5, and so on, instead of creating again as many as just an infinite number of events. Of course, then you can create a template for the template used for the notification. You can easily create your own. You can select how many days in advance you want a notification to be sent, and also you can attach a report to the notification that is sent by email to the user that of course that receives it. Okay, so this is just how easy you can schedule the rule definition, which I didn't save. Should have saved it, but so you can see it. So we said, like, let's say let's put just some random subscription expiration. Yes, expiration. So we said class. We said client software. What client software attribute is installation date. Let's say installation date. Everything else we just leave it like this. Just just so we can save it and find it in the management module. Okay, so I'm in the management module now. So if I go on workplaces, then the client software, and then we can add a card. Let's say we got we got CMDBuild, which has just been installed into the system, and we want to select also the expiration date. So the brand is CMDBuild. The version is of course the 3.2, the one we're presenting now. Then we got the installation date, which is of course today, so the 25th of February. And then you see here, as soon as I clicked on the calendar and put the date, you see here that this is enabled. And here I got the rule that I just created, the last one I just created, and of course, which of course I can modify from here. I can select the priority, I can select everything, and then also I can add a new different schedule, which is going to see subscription expiration. I forgot an A. Well, this is just to show you that you're able from here also to edit the rule that you just created. Of course, if you click here frequency, let's say monthly, after whatever, let's say many number of events, 5, and then days in advance, let's say 7, and then it will recalculate, and then you got a new one. You got a new one that you just created. Okay, so this was I think was it for the scheduler. Is again extremely easy to configure, extremely easy to work on, and as well, and also extremely helpful for managing all the recurring schedules. Okay, so another thing I wanted to show you is the dashboards. So again, if I go on the workplaces and item monitor, I can see that all the new the dashboards are now available. In this case, we just selected these for the demo. So this could be the assets by type, by age, by status, by availability, and by status. So just to have a quick glance at and information about the assets. But if I go on the administration module, I will show you how easy it is to configure this page, this view with the dashboards. Okay, so if I go here and then I go on dashboard and then on item monitor, by clicking on this edit button, I can select how to populate the layout with the dashboards. So this can be easily done by just dragging and dropping. If you want a bar, and then for example, and you can select, you can set the name, you can set the description, the height, the function, where to read the information for the new graph, and you will have it by by age, by type, and you can also have a quick preview here just to see what it looks like and what you can if it's actually helpful for you. Of course, here you can also select the column width and all the other spacing between the different type of in this case of pies or gauges or tables or whatever. For example, if put again, but I think no, the bar it's already here, where you can just modify it, and you can see if you want to show the legend or not, if you want what kind of of title you want for the category axis or for the value axis. You want maybe type and total number, and you can also select them. You can select the value type, and you select which one of course you want. Let's save it. Also, the table and the text elements, these are new kind of graphs that were not available in the previous version. Okay, so going on, just a few other things I wanted to talk to you about in this new 3.2 version is the server management. So from the again from the administration module, I can if I go on system configuration, which is the very last one, of course, system configurations, and then I go on server management. I can see which services are running, which aren't, and which have an error status. So this, of course, this gives us a quick view, information about the status of the single services that are used in CMDBuild. So this one, for example, is an error. This one, a Beam service is running fine, GIS service is running, and so the others are not running. Of course, this is just some demo data just to show you which possible status you may have, so error running, not running. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to show you is the password policy. Again, here, if I want to edit it, I must click here. So if I want to do active or non-active, the password policies, so the number of previous password that cannot be reused, so 3, so it must be new one, different from previous password, different from username, minimum length, if it requires at least one lowercase character or one uppercase, the 1 digit, the number of days between the password change or the days before a user is notified by the about expiration. Also, we introduced here, which was not active previously, the possibility to receive a link for the forgotten password, and to and also we moved actually from in the login page, we moved the language on top before actually ended the selection of the language on top before entering the password, the username and password. So this is again very interesting. Okay, so going back to the management, one last thing before the questions that I wanted to show you is about the filters. So if I go on employees, for example, and I go on internal employees and I want to create a filter, I can of course choose an attribute which could be any, let's say state equals to active. So I want to select only the employees that I have a active state. So I add this filter and save and apply. Name state. Sorry, again, clicking on the wrong button. State, save, and then I click here, and then I got this new filter which is created. And if I click on the little star here, which is this new icon we introduced, this can be set as default. So every time I will log in, I will already find the filter applied, which is extremely interesting because I don't have to, every time I log in, I have to filter my data, but it will automatically do. Another thing we did was you can freely move around your labels. You can also select the width of it, and then once you save the grid preferences, it will this will stay the same, and you won't have to redo it every time you log in. Okay, well now I think it is it for the demo. I hope you enjoyed it, but I'm sure you have many questions, so I'm all here to answer them all and try to be try to give you all the information you need. So I will just let my PC and go back to the webcam. Okay, well, so here I am back in front of the webcam. I would like to thank you very much also for attending the webinar following the our presentation of the new live features. Of course, we wanted to keep it short, so we needed to go through all the new features quickly. But in case you need further information about all everything that I mentioned during the demo, well, feel very free to drop us an email or get in touch with us, and myself or the technical team or the commercial team will be more than happy to answer all the doubts you may have. Please don't forget before going to the or answering the your questions. Please don't forget that these the version 3.2 is also will be also available for CMDBuild ready to use and open main, which are the two vertical solutions of the CMDBuild, and they will integrate all, of course, all the new features that you just saw in the demo. Let me also give you another information about this. The 3.3 version will be released in current fall, so fall 2020. And we're even working on the mobile app, which also will be ready by the end of this year, by probably around December 2020. Also, don't forget that the CMDB ready to use and open main will also come with a 2.1 version, and this is going to happen during this year. And of course, they will include the new features for the IT governance and facility management. While, as I just said, they already have the 3.2 core of CMDB. For now, I would like to thank you very much. It was a great pleasure to conduct this webinar and bring you through all the new features of CMDB 3.2. I would like to welcome you to subscribe to our periodic newsletter on the CMD Build project, where you will find in every newsletter a new case study. And ciao, ciao.